We're talking today with Dan Brockmiller of Hayfield, Minnesota. And the interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Is this slightly, when I turn it on, it changes the shot? All right. Let's begin at the beginning. Where and when were you born?
Well, I was born September 28th, 1949 in Owatonna, Minnesota.
All right. And was that where a hospital was? Or was
Hospital,
yeah. Oh, okay. And so did you grow up in that area?
Well, a farm south, or east of there, like 20 miles, or 12 miles, in Claremont, Minnesota.
Okay. And what part of Minnesota is that in?
Southeast.
Okay. All right. And then did you graduate from high school there?
Yeah, I graduated in 1967.
Okay. And what did you do when you got out of high school?
I went on the farm during the summer, and then I started working at a factory, OTC, in October 2nd, 4 days after I turned 18, and after forging hot steel with trip hammers.
Okay.
Until I got drafted, got my draft notice, and off I went.
All right. So when do you actually enter the Army?
Actually, I entered May 14th, 1969.
Okay. Did you get a physical at that point?
Physical?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had two. I had a induction physical in June of 68, and then you had your induction physical in May 13th of 1969.
All right. Now, how serious were those as medical examinations?
Well, I guess if you could walk and talk and you had 10 fingers, you're in.
All right.
They'll weed you out once you get there to your basic training. They'll weed you out.
Right. Okay. So where did you go for basic?
Fort Lewis, Washington.
All right. What kind of reception did you get once you got there?
Well, you were anything but human, I guess. you were anything but human. They were in charge. You know, and it was that's what they had to do. You know, you had to respect. They showed you who you had to respect right away, and which is a good thing. Okay. You know, I mean, it was, you know.
All right.
And I was an acting sergeant in basic training.
Okay. And how did that happen?
I don't know. We're sitting in a room, and the guy come up and he says, "I think you should be a acting platoon sergeant."
Okay.
I said, "Okay." How was it? Oh.
All right. I don't know. Were you in good shape at that point, working on the farm and all?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's going to help.
Yeah.
All right. So what did the training actually consist of?
Well, you had your order of arms, you know, where you learned all this, and marching, and the rifle range, and just got survival, you know.
All right. And then how did they enforce discipline?
Push-ups. Push-ups.
Okay.
Pay attention. And you didn't have to mess up, but somebody else messed up. You all, don't think I only messed up once. You know, I only messed up once because, you know, you didn't want to do his push-ups, so that was there.
Right. Was the idea that you'd all make sure the other guys didn't mess up?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right. Did you understand what they were doing at the time?
Yeah, now don't mess up, I guess, really, but pay attention. You know,
Okay.
when he tells you to do something, he only wants to tell you once.
Okay.
The drill sergeant, you know.
But why they were being that strict?
No, not really. You know, it was just like, that's their job, and,
Okay.
you know, it's just,
Okay.
you know, it's more mental. You know, I mean, everybody can do the physical after a while, you know, that's no, you know, but it's kind of a mental stage. You know.
I guess the idea would be you're trying to make sure people just follow orders immediately.
Right, you know.
Okay.
Be prepared, pay attention, and...
Okay, so they made you a sergeant right away, so they liked you for whatever reason. How easy or hard was it for you just to adjust to life in the Army?
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't no big deal to me.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you know, there's millions of guys that went to before me. I know I can do it. And that was my train of thought. It ain't no big deal. You know,
Right.
I ain't worried about going home or like that. I thought, okay, other guys did. I know I can do this.
Yeah. We're talking late 1960s. There were a lot of people who weren't so sure they wanted to obey it.
Yeah, right.
Or that kind of thing.
They had one, I think it was there, they asked one to be a cotton objector, you know, and there's only one guy raised his hands. He didn't want to carry a a rifle like that, and he says, fine, you're gonna work in the mess hall. You know, this is easy, we can handle you really quick. So they put him in the mess hall.
All right. Okay, so you get through basic training in one piece, so what do you do next?
Well, the day after graduated, they sent me to Fort Rucker, Alabama for Huey maintenance.
All right.
Huey helicopter.
Now, had you requested that, or did they just assign it to you?
No, when you're in, it must have been like the second week was in, or third week, you take these tests. And my uncle was in service, and he told me what to expect. He says, you know nothing about nature. You don't want to go walking in the nature doing all this stuff. He says, you don't want that. And he says, you know nothing about trucks. You do not want to drive a truck. You want to stay away from that. So the test comes, so I kind of did the test to stay away from walking in nature or read a book. Well, I'll read a book. Mm-hmm. And nothing about truck. I don't know nothing. So it must have been like the 7th week we got called in to tell you what your MOS is going to be, what you're going to do. So I would walk into that guy. He says, well, look here, you're going into aviation. He says, where do you want to go after school? I says, Vietnam. He says, good choice. He says, that's where you're going. So after basic, the next day flew down to Fort Rucker and went through Huey maintenance.
Okay. Describe what that course consisted of.
5 weeks of just some book work and just maintenance, nothing, not really nothing, because you didn't really learn, that much. And then they said, well, after that, he says, well, we're going to go to put you in Mohawk school. You come out in E6. And I said, I really don't want to go to Mohawk school.
What is Mohawk school?
Airplane.
Okay.
As an airplane, a Mohawk. And they put cameras on it for observation, and it used to be minigun, but they put that on there. I said, oh, I'll go to door gunner school. So I had to go see a captain and a warrant officer, and then finally I got to see this lieutenant colonel. And he says, you got it.
So why did you want to be a door gunner?
I didn't want to go to Mohawk school. That was like a 12-week or 15-week school, and I didn't want that.
Okay.
So I got the door gunner, and after that went home for 19 days, and come back and Travis Air Force Base, California. Then we flew out of there and flew into Vietnam, and then I had to spend like 10 or 12 days in Benoit. They call it P training. Mm-hmm. It's kind of an orientation. And so after that, we got our orders.
Well, what did that P training consist of?
Well, you're just kind of familiar with Vietnam. It's just like, I don't know, what to expect. Okay. There's stuff there that bites you, and there's, it's just never been like this before. It was just a different orientation. What it's about.
Okay. Well, did that involve any kind of practice patrolling or?
No. We said there's a lot of classroom.
Okay.
I mean, you're sitting outside.
Yeah.
And then we get mortared. So we knew what a mortar was right away. Mm-hmm. We learned really quick, but a net hit right by us, but it was really close to us. It was by the airport.
Right. So you're still at Benoit and you're getting that.
Yeah, I'm still at Benoit.
Okay. So yeah, there's no place safe.
Yeah, right. So then after graduation, we got our orders. It was A Company, 159th ASHBN. My buddy was B Company. Well, we don't know nothing. Mm-hmm. So here's this officer. And I said, we got these, what is this? And he says, oh, you're way up north on Chinooks. What do you mean Chinooks? I don't know nothing about a Chinook. Mm-hmm. Well, so we got up to company, and I got to the airport, and it was rainy, monsoons, and there's this old mama son sitting there having a wok, chicken rice soup. And it smelled so good. She had her rice and throw some carrots and stuff. Oh, it was so good. I was so hungry. And there was a guy that's been there a while, an older guy. He says, don't eat the soup. Do not eat that soup. But the Arbans were eating it, the South Vietnamese. And all of a sudden she had a jug of water, and she put some more water in there. There's in the fire going, vegetables, a sack with rice, another sack she digs out a chicken. The only thing missing on that chicken is feathers. It's a whole chicken. Machete. Chop it up in chunks and she throws it in that pot. And the guy says, I told you not to eat the soup.
So when was this? When did you actually get to Vietnam?
Well, I got there like the 15th of November.
Okay.
And so I got to the company, it must have been like the 25th, the 15th of November, and I got to the company like the 25th, you know, because I'm down in Benoit for that.
Right.
So the guy named John Littleton, he picked me up at Phu Airport and took me to the company, and I had to go see the company commander. And he says, well, the last guy that come a couple of days ago was in B, our second flight platoon, put you in the first flight platoon, the best platoon. Okay, so I got in they took me to the hooch like 7 o'clock at night. And I opened the door, and this Matt Cooper from Louisiana, he kind of put me under his wing. He was a new guy and whatever, and he says, I'll help you get going, get your bunk and all that. 7 o'clock the next morning, I was flying door gunner in 12 hours.
All right. Okay. Now, just because some people might not know this, what's the difference between a Huey and a Chinook?
Well, Chinook were like so much bigger. We got double rotor heads, and we could haul like 30 infantry combat ready, and we could carry the 105 guns and water supplies, everything. Because the Huey, we used to pick up a lot of Hueys that were shot down in Vietnam. We'd pick them up all the way, And that was a major transport.
Right.
That's our main job.
And so the Huey is the smaller one, and that's, but you trained on Hueys, and now you've gone over to the Chinook.
Yeah, and I didn't know Chinook had 5 transmissions. But I found out after I was in the company.
All right. Now, when you go in as a door gunner, is there an expectation that you might move up and become flight engineer, crew chief, that kind of thing over time? Because you've had some at least basic training for aviation maintenance already when you came in. Okay, so you started as a door gunner. Do you remember anything about that first mission?
No, you don't know. You're just, I tell you, you are kind of scared because you don't know here. And here you're flying in a, it's a bad place, and you're just kind of looking in observation, and you're looking at the flight engineer, and he's just kind of going along for the ride, and the crew chief, we're just going along for a ride. And, that's just an everyday deal, and you're kind of, wow, this is whatever, everybody read the papers before, there are a lot of people got, helicopters getting shot down, but whatever, we just go along, we're doing our job.
All right. Now, at this point, let's see, so how often would you fly?
Well, and I did fly the next day, and then I don't know if I flew after that, but I'd go back out on the flight line, and other helicopters that were down, they're doing they just didn't have to fly. I would go talk to the flight engineer because you're on your helicopter, and asked a lot of questions. I'm asking you questions. I want to learn this stuff because I don't know nothing about this, and I know I'm going to have your job someday. With any luck, I'm going to, get to be I want to know. And they were really good. The old flight engineers, most of them were there were 18 months already, and a lot of them stayed for 24 months, because they were RAs, and they were in for 3 years. And I was drafted, so I was in for 2, but anyways. And so that's kind of, they were really good on my, because you're always on the same helicopter. And my flight engineer, Andy Herrera, he was really good. But we checked the helicopter, me and the crew chief. Anyway, he took a wrench and he stuck it underneath the drive shaft. After we checked it over, and then the flight engineer would just do his check. And he called me and crew chief up there, and he says, "Look at here, wrench underneath the drive shaft," in which that's not good. And then afterwards, he said, I planted that wrench.
Okay, why did he do that?
Just to make sure we really looked good.
Okay.
It wasn't there when we checked.
Right.
But he went up with it and he planted it. You know, the next time, you know, to make sure you check, you're looking for everything, you know, that could make you crash. You know, and it was an eye opener. You know, it was, you look really good then, you know, and which is a good thing. You know, he did it for my benefit, you know.
It's just
And the crew member, yeah, it was for my benefit that he did that. So, I mean, I did the same thing, you know. So anyway, you know, and it scares them, but I mean, it makes you a better crew member, you know, crew chief, and then to be
All right. Now, again, because we asked you, so you fly one mission and then you're grounded for a few days?
Well, we had 16 Chinooks in our company.
Yeah.
And there's 3 companies, so there's 48 Chinooks. And there's not 48 flyable at one time.
Right.
And you don't need 48, you know, because there's B company, let's say there's 3 from B company and 3 from C company and 3 from A company today. Well, the rest are, you know, there's so much in maintenance, so many hours you got to have a maintenance on them.
Right. And then there's just a question of how much business there was at the time.
Yeah, right.
So, now, in January, February, you're still, some of those areas are still in the monsoon season, right?
Oh yeah, it starts in November. It starts monsoon, and if it's, you know, raining really hard, you know, unless they really needed to be supplied, you didn't fly because the clouds are like almost hanging on the ground, you know, and people do run into one another up there, you know, because we had a neighbor that got killed that way. They had a midair with a plane. He was on a Huey, and that, you know, everybody got killed. But that was, you know, you can't see, you know, in the clouds. So you didn't go unless you had to go. You know.
Right. Okay. And so, what kind of missions do you find yourself flying in the first couple months?
Well, it's all the same. You would take out, might be picking infantry up from a fire base, artillery base, and taking it back so many days off. Well, in the meantime, you already took a bunch out, or another helicopter took, you know, 30 out. We brought 30 back in, so they always had, you know, that or otherwise taking the ammo out, fuel out for the generators, water, so they have something to drink and shower with, and whatever they need, you know, whatever they needed, we hauled it out there.
All right. And in those first few months there, did you get shot at much?
No, not. Well, once in a great while, but we never got shot where we got shot down. You know, and it was just, I guess the more you was there, the more relaxed you was. You wasn't worried about being shot down. You know, I mean, you was picking up Hueys, and every once in a while maybe a Chinook would get shot down or make emergency landing, but it wasn't you. You know, and it wasn't nobody in your company. You know, it was another company. Well, you know, you just kind of.
If you have to pick up a helicopter, how do you do that?
Well, they had it. The Pathfinders already had it rigged.
Okay.
You know, they had it rigged with and we'd come in and pick it up, and off we'd go and drop it off at most like Evans someplace, and, or back to their company, and they would, you know, if it's fixable, they would fix it.
Or swap it for parts, or whatever.
Had a big sling load and had the blades tied so it didn't spin on it, yeah.
Okay. What were your living conditions like?
Oh, great. Had a well, it was a tin shed, plywood walls, plywood floor, and it had screens like a I don't know, foot and a half high, I suppose, towards the top. But I mean, we had a bed to sleep in. The mattresses are about an inch and a half thick. You know, we had a bunk beds, and we had a fan, and they bought a refrigerator for $15, a little one that somebody already left, so you could have a beer in there or whatever. But no, it was good. I mean, them infantry in our artillery and fire base, that wasn't good. But we had, you know, not as good as the Air Force, but we had our living conditions were, because before I got there, they were living in tents. Well, so they built these hooches, we called them, and no, it wasn't bad at all. It was pretty good living conditions.
All right. So do you have a regular mess hall? And then
Yeah, a good mess hall. We had roast beef though about 9 months in a row for supper. A lot of roast beef. But we ate, I forgot flying, we ate a lot of sea rations or lurps, you know. But for breakfast, let's say we had to leave at 5 o'clock, so you're using the mess hall at 4, and there are cooks standing there with eggs to order. So we had however you wanted your eggs, and they had bacon and all this. And then we helped the Marine, before I got there, the company worked with the Marines, hauling in, you know, we had to use our Chinooks, you know, transport heavy stuff. And after that was done, the general come to the company and he says, God, you guys are so good. What can I do for you? One of the guys says, how about running water and hot showers? He says, you got it. So here they built a shower, we had hot showers, and had sinks. Oh yeah, then we had spigots in between the hooches ever so far. We had running water, but that was all because of the Marines. The other guys weren't so lucky. But yeah, we had a pretty strapped company, and then we lived on, it was called Pachyderm Beach. We were like 7 miles from the South China Sea, but it was all white sand. So it could rain 5 inches, and you walk outside and you won't even get your feet wet. And the other ones lived in red mud when it rained, or you know, red dirt. So I mean, it was really good. You know, the conditions, I can't complain about the conditions.
all right. Did you have Vietnamese working on the base?
Yeah, we had the women, we had hooch maids for a while. They'd sweep your floors and do your laundry. And then they worked in the mess hall, you know, doing that. And we had one, she was really good. And I'd always leave her a pack of cigarettes. I said, now don't take my pack. But if you want to have a cigarette, have a cigarette. 2 or 3, 4, I don't care. But just don't steal my cigarettes. She said, I won't steal your cigarette. My clothes were always so nice and washed, whatever, because I'm giving her cigarettes, you know. And you know, she was happy and I were happy. And, yeah, but then we lost them after about 6 months. Then we had to do our own. But it wasn't as good when we did our own.
Do you know why you lost them?
No, I suppose it must have been something to do with security. I imagine it's security had something to do with it. You know.
Yeah, we're afraid that they might be Viet Cong or doing this.
Yeah, they most likely were. I'm not all of them, but I most likely, you know, if they were threatening your family, you're going to do this, or you know what's going to happen. Yeah, we'll do what, you know, well, but I never seen nobody like stepping the steps off from like trying to wire or come in. You know, we didn't have that in our.
Yeah. Did you get incoming mortar rounds or rockets periodically?
No, never. Not too often. I think when I was there, maybe, because one time we come in and a rocket was sticking in the flight line. It never went off. And then there was a couple times we got mortared, but they never hit really right where the barracks are, or hooches. You know, they hit a ways away so nobody got hurt. And one time in front of the bunkers, they got a rocket come in, but that was all white sand, so nobody got, you know, so we didn't, it wasn't bad at all. You know?
Okay. Now, as the monsoon lifts and so forth, you get more campaigning going on in the interior. You're getting up into the hills and mountains, including Ripcord. The fire base gets established in April, and you have other fire bases around and so forth. What was it like flying out to those places?
Well, I don't know, because I got there in end of November, and in January I got to be a crew chief. And in June, I got to be a flight engineer. I don't know, it was just, well, you got a mission today, you go, you know, okay, so you go, and it was just like another day.
Okay.
You know, you didn't really worry about it, you just had a job to do, and you just did it. When you're done for the day, you're done. You know?
Okay. Now, but some of those, especially on Ripcord, eventually become reasonably dangerous, or at least there's a lot.
Oh, yeah, because I got coming in there, and I got a couple guys from maintenance. One to get 4 hours of flight time in to get their flight pay. I says, good. So I told the crew chief, I says, here, you do my job. You fly the hole and the hook and the loads. And I told one of the maintenance guys, I says, well, here, you fly the right gun. And the other maintenance guy, I said, you just watch the crew chief hook up the loads. And I'm laying down asleep. Pretty soon, the gunner grabbed me and he shaked because I had booked the radios, so I didn't hear him talk. And he's shaking me and I look and we're burning on the inside. And we're getting hit with 51 caliber going in the ripcord. And the pilot's screaming, "Chief, chief," he says, the crew chief just got hit in the head. It's flying all over. No, it's a first aid kit. Because right by his head there's a first aid kit. I said, no, that's a first aid kit. What do we do? What do we do? I says, we better get out of here is what we better do. We gotta land someplace. I said, not out here in the jungle. We gotta fly. We'll watch some oil leaks and whatever. So you wake up in a hurry. And nothing got hit that could make us crash. Everything just went to the airframe and hit that first aid kit. It just caught me a fire, but we got that out right away. So I come back and we landed, and the two guys that flew with me, he says, this is the second time we went with you. And he says, the first time we got shot up with AK-47, and this time with 51 caliber, we're not flying with you. I says, well, we made it back. No big deal, we made it back. Yeah, they went flying, because after I wanted to go, nope, not with you. And we ain't gonna let nobody else fly with you either. He says, you're kind of like a bullet magnet. I said, I don't get shot up every day or every week. I just happens to be whatever,
Days they pick.
Yeah.
All right. How long would the missions normally be? How long would it take you to get from your base to where you were going?
Well, not too long. Let's say we left at 7 in the morning. And we'd go to like Evans or Corridor and pick up what we need to pick up and then haul it out. And we'd come back and we'd do another one, and we'd have to come to refuel. But we burned about 300 gallons an hour on the Chinook. And sometimes we'd be done at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and well, that's all we had to do because it's other Chinooks flying and everybody was whatever. So it's all dependent on. Some days you'd start when it'd be dark and you'd get back in it'd be dark.
Would you get multiple missions on those days?
Oh yeah, you do go to different fire bases and haul. You might haul guys out to one, or you might haul ammo out to another one. You might haul a 105 gun out. You might haul a 300 gallon livet out to that's full of kerosene or gas for the generators or whatever to another one, and it changed all the time. You didn't know from one day to the next.
Do you have a sense about how long it took to fly, say, from Evans to Ripcord?
15 minutes.
Yeah, like that.
Not too long. Because we must, for all the fire bases, I don't know, we maybe supplied 30 of them. In I-Corps, 35. There was a lot of fire bases.
Right.
Some they were there and they abandoned, but
Right.
it still was they called it what it was. So we can drop off, fly back.
Okay. Did you ever carry any South Vietnamese?
Yeah, a few times I carried them and I'd come in and I'd have a chicken, in cages, to have some chickens, cages to have some ducks. And if we'd haul like out to an artillery base, they'd have like a 105 gun, and they'd have a pig tied on, crate tied onto the gun. It was just crazy. Just whatever, whatever's whatever,
Well, they didn't get regular rations. They
Right.
brought their own food.
And they made their own, because I was flying, we had my crew chief says, seen this guy and he had this, like a gunny sack. And he says, he's seen it and he goes, the guy reached in and handed one to Frank. And it was like a donut and it had carrots and onions and whatever. I go, yeah, it was really good. Nobody out there taking their food out there. But yeah, that was, it was different, but they did their job, and sometimes we'd have to fly at night. And you'd see these bonfires out in the jungle. Well, here at the South Vietnamese, cookie at night. And you just think to yourself, you know, I bet them NVA are sitting around there watching them cook that pig or chicken. And they're waiting till that is cooked and they're going to eat that meal. I could almost guarantee it that they're going to let them, our South Vietnamese army in it, they're going to eat that. Not that it happened all the time, but you had visions of that happening anyway.
Right.
You know, these bonfires going out there in the jungle.
All right. Now, did your company, were you losing helicopters?
I think we lost 5. But I think out of the battalion, I think we lost 29. There was a couple I know that maintenance that had contaminated fuel. Nobody got hurt, but they went on fuel and they hit hard. And it seems to me that somebody got shot down with artillery. I mean, everybody got lost in that one there, the crew. But otherwise, yeah, I think there's 29 of them that got shot down.
All right. Now, when you get into Ripcord is a little bit distinctive in that took, I believe, more incoming fire than most other fire bases.
Right. Well, it was kind of like on the Assault Valley, and it was like an NVA, going to try and block the NVA from supplies, and that's why that artillery base was there.
Right.
It was to stop the NVA, you know. But there was like 25,000 NVA around that, and there was a lot of bad people in that area. You know.
So what's it like to fly in there?
Well, it all depends. When you're flying, and all of a sudden you look out, and there's a Cobra gunship on one side, and there's a Cobra gunship on the other side. You know that it's bad when you're going in. You know, if you didn't have no Cobras, you didn't think nothing of it. When you had them Cobras, well, what are you going to do? You're in this helicopter, you can't jump out. You got to go for the ride, you do your job, and then you fly away, you know.
All right. And did the pilots have particular ways of approaching Ripcord to stay out of the fire or avoid getting hit?
Well, they would, at the fire base themselves, they would tell us where to land.
Yeah.
You know, and because there's times you land and the mortars would come in, but luckily they weren't where we were at. You know, I mean, they weren't the best shots of them mortars, but they could get lucky.
Yeah.
You know, they can move that mortar tube, and they can see the first one, they can move and drop another one. So we were banging, we were gone. You know, but we had to pick people up, and it was there a little bit longer. You know, because they called it like a Chinook, a BFT, big flying target. So when you're coming in, you come in, and you kind of stop, and then you come down. So that's where that big flying target come from. You just,
right.
And so you're kind of motionless for a while. You know.
All right. Now, were you in the Ripcord area when a Chinook got shot down there? That's July 18th. Or were you someplace else?
No, I was back in the company. See, I was supposed to go flying that day. That was my mission. But started my up, and I had a hot start on an engine. Anyway, I was out. And so I went to see my buddy in his helicopter. And the guy that was on that, the flight engineer that was on 810, he was in the orderly room waiting for a call from his wife. His wife's supposed to have a baby. And he come walking by the helicopter, my buddy, and he looks at me and he says, maybe someday I can do a favor for you. Anyway, then he ended up getting shot down and he got killed, you know, and he jumped out, the helicopter fell on him and he burnt up. But yeah, that was supposed to be my mission.
Okay.
But it was like 4 or 5 days before that, that's when I got shot up, but I didn't get shot down. You know, we got dropped the load and we flew away. You know, but anyway, then he come in, he got.
Was that the same episode as the one with the two guys riding with you, or was that a different episode?
No, that's when the two guys were riding with me.
Okay, that's that one. Yeah, all right.
But that ripcord was, they had that 51 caliber. It was on a track. You know, ripcord is like Hill 905, and this 51 caliber was on like Hill 1000.
Yeah.
And it was close enough. I don't know. I think it was like a 750 or 1,000 yard burn on a tracer, and it was burning when it hit me. And after all that, you know, after years and years later, you're thinking, you've got an artillery base, and you know where that hill's at. Why don't they blow the top of that hill off?
They tried.
Or bring some fast movers in, or have some Cobras pop up with rockets. And I don't know why they never did.
Well, they did all of those things. They just didn't work.
Yeah, they never got it, because
Yeah.
it must have been about 20 years ago. I was in the Legion, and this guy come in and he says, talking about Vietnam, and he says, yeah. I says, where you at? And I said, well, I Corps is on Chinooks and whatever. He says, did you ever hear of Ripcord? I says, yeah, the one with the big rock, right? He says, you was there. that rock was its own personal deal. If you knew that, you knew about Ripcord.
Right.
You know? But he said, they went up that hill where that 51 was at, and the 51 is gone, but the track was there. So they tore it apart, and once the artillery base was gone. But that day when we evacuated them, excuse me, we were about 5 miles away, and the B-52s dropped, and it pushed the Chinook, the concussion. When they dropped all their bombs, they were dropping some pretty big bombs, and they pushed that helicopter.
Okay. So they do when they were doing that, like right after the evacuation.
Yeah, right after we were flying, and boom, and then you could feel that when they hit us, the concussion.
So what did your helicopter do? What did you do on the evacuation? Did you help evacuate something?
Yeah, we helped evacuate. Yeah, I think we come in there. I think maybe we hauled I don't know. I can't remember what, but I know we hauled something. Then we went back and we got some people.
Okay. So you were taking a Chinook in to load up people.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty scary given all the stuff shooting at. But okay, but you did do that. Did you take an artillery piece out or supplies?
Yeah, you know, because there was a lot of helicopters.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of helicopters that going in that deal. You know, because they were mortaring over here, so we had to land here. You know, so we could do all this, and everything was moving really quick. You know. Yeah, it was but you just did your job. You know, you didn't get shot. You didn't get shot down. You just fly away. You know, you don't think nothing of it. You just flew away. You know.
All right. Now, did things change much on your end after that base was evacuated, or you just go?
No,
back?
it was just went to other bases. You know, just another day.
All right. And so you stayed a full year in Vietnam?
Yeah, I was there a year and 4 days.
Okay. Did you get an R&R during that time?
I went down. We had to go down. We had to go pick up a new helicopter in our company. So I was a flight engineer. So we had another flight engineer for the 2nd Flight Platoon and 2 pilots. We flew down to Tonsanute Air Force Base, and my cousin was in the Air Force there. So we stayed there for like 3 days, and that was my R&R.
Okay. So you never left the country?
Never left the country, no.
Did you have an option to do that, or?
Yeah, but I just never. I guess I didn't. Let's see. It was my helicopter I wanted to take care of. That was mine to take care of, and I didn't want somebody else flying my helicopter. I'm going. I'll stay here and watch, but you know.
All right. Did you have the same machine the whole time, or did you change a couple?
No, I had 2.
Okay.
Yeah, because the one I had first, when I got the flight engineer, and the old flight engineer went home, I got that, and that helicopter was made in 1968. That helicopter's still flying. It's a special ops. It's got the big tube to refuel in the air, and it's got miniguns sticking out there, so it's a special op. And it's 56 years old. And 4 years ago, I got invited down to a Afghans sold Chinook guys in Bryson City, North Carolina, and happened to be talking, and the guy said, well, I work for the Department of Defense. He says, what was your tail number of your Chinooks? Told him. Well, he says, that one. He said, they're using that for target practice, or they're seeing how fast guys can get on and off, just practicing. But he says, your other one is in, if it was in Fort Rucker, he says, they're taking the whole cockpit off and everything's going to be digital. And he says, right now it's got 10,300 hours on it. And I put that on the website, and a guy got a guy named Hader out in Washington. He says, I just crewed that helicopter 2 weeks ago. He said, it's sitting out here in Washington. He did special ops. I got the tail number and all that, you know. So I wouldn't mind flying on that one more time anyways.
All right. When you think back to that year you spent in Vietnam, are there other kind of memories or things that stand out for you that you haven't brought into the story yet?
I met a lot of good friends, you know, and we still get together like every 2 years. That was in our flight platoon. There's like, well, a couple of them passed away. But I mean, there's like eight of us that we try to get together. Wherever, someplace in the United States, you know. Just get together for 3-4 days and, you know, have a good time. I mean, we don't talk about bad stuff. We all know bad stuff. We just have a good time, you know.
Okay.
And what we enjoy, you know.
All right. And so now, when your year is up, how do you get out of Vietnam, or what's the process for getting you back?
Well, see, when I first got there, if you have less than 150 days, you ETS, estimated time of service, your timeout. And otherwise, if you got more than that, you DROS. I mean, you might go home for leave and then you come back to your time is up. And I thought, well, I'm not going to go stateside. So I went and re-upped for 30 more days.
Okay.
So that'd have been December 15th. So I'd had less than 150 and I'd go home. And so I must have had about, 40 days left or so. And all of a sudden we're taxiing and go out a mission. And here a guy from the order room, he's come running down the flight line with his paper. And he's waving it and he's pointing and he's pointing. So I told the pilot, I said, sir, you got to stop. This guy so-and-so from the order room's running down the flight line after us with these paper. So we stop and he jumps on the ramp and he points. Here's my name. I got a 27-day drop early out. I said, well, that works for me. I don't have to stay here until December 15th. So I said, well, sir, I said, I got a big drop. I got 14 days or 16, whatever days, you know, I got a drop. So I went flying, and I thought, well, I'm not quit flying. Most guys had 30 days left, and they quit flying. And I said, I can't do that. I got to make sure my crew chief pays really close attention for quite a while, you know. But I told Matthews, he was from Virgin Islands. I says, Matthews, I want you to follow me really close. I don't want you to die over here for some stupid maintenance that, you know, we're gonna try, you know. And what he was really good before that. I mean, he was a good crew chief, you know. He paid a lot of attention. So okay, so I had 3 days left. So Matthews, it's yours. Or I had 4 days left. We got down. I said, Matthews, you're the flight engineer. I'm out of here. So the next morning, the guy said, Dan, he said, we got to go fly down south. We got to pick up 500 Army cots. And we got to take them back up to Evans. And I said, I thought there's supposed to be a truth withdrawal. Why do we need 500 more Army cots? Off we go. We land. And, you know, you go eat. You know, no big deal. And it started to rain. And it started to rain. And the pilot says, we're not going no place. All right, I got 2 days left. It never quit raining. Pilot says, Chief, we ain't leaving here. I says, I got 1 day and I'm supposed to go home. We ain't leaving. All right, well, I'm here, it's here. So, 3rd day we took off. Made it as far as Da Nang. Weather hold, we had to land. Because, you know, I come over there, because I was monitoring radios too. And he says, geez, I'm supposed to be going home today, and here I'm sitting in Da Nang. Stayed overnight. Well, whatever. So the next morning, bright and early, sun and we got back. And I went over and walked in the hooch. This guy came running in, and he says, get in this truck. You're supposed to, the first sergeant says, you're out of here. You got it. Okay, so we're flying around, clearing everything. So we get back, and just get your bags packed. Find a suitcase and floated her in there. He says, you gotta go to the airport. Never told nobody nothing. You know, I gotta go. Started raining. I slept in the airport overnight. All right, so we got down south. And standing there in formation to have them call your name. I was standing there and the guy looked at me and he says, when did you get here? Oh, just a little bit ago. He says, you might as well go to the bar and drink. He says, you're not getting on no airplane leaving Vietnam. You see all standing here? We've been here since yesterday. And you ain't getting on no airplane. So me and two other guys, we went and got, started drinking. And then looking for a place to sleep. You know, got something to eat. Nobody here, so we crawled in and slept. And the next morning we got up early and standing in a big cement slab. I was the third person they called. Got my orders to go home, so you get your stuff and off the big plane ride home and landed in Washington. It took 32 hours to get out of Washington and we come home.
All right. Now, when you went back home, did you go in uniform or civilian clothes or?
No, I had my greens,
okay.
Dress greens on, yeah.
All right. So you didn't have any problem with protesters or things like that?
Oh, yeah, when we landed in Washington, they were there and holding their signs up and doing all this stuff here. But they kept them about 100 yards from us. Mm-hmm. But there's no way they were going to stand right by us. There would have been a lot of bad beat up protesters, you know, when they were out Holland. So they couldn't spit on us, or, you know, they kept them far enough away so nothing happened.
Right. But then when you were flying home or whatever, you didn't have
nobody.
Not in the airport.
No, because there was other Vietnam guys. It was on a commercial flight.
Yeah.
But there was other Vietnam guys on that flight too. And, no, nobody said. Nobody knew I was coming home.
All right.
So, when I landed, I called home, and my mother and my uncle, and her brother, come and pick me up, and I was home for 15 days, and they said I must go to work. There's a lot of guys drew unemployment, and I said I must go. I went back forging hot steel.
Okay. And then did you kind of stay in that line of work or change jobs?
Yeah, well, I stayed there for, I think, 5 years. And then I went to construction, because I was always working at nights, you know, and I was tired of nights, you know. In my 20s, I had more in my mind than going to work at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and getting done at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, I went to construction. And then we got married. And the guy in town had a garbage route, and he says, would you like to buy that? And I says, yeah. So I paid whatever. Then I got another truck, and I had old garbage route. But no, then I went back to OTC. But then I expanded when I quit OTC, and then I expanded to another town, and then I bought out another town and another town, and so I just kind of did it myself. And then I had my stepson in the summer, he helped, and then I had my daughter, she helped for a while, and after that, then I had bought an automatic instead of a stick, and then I had my wife, she drove, and I threw, you know, for so long, and then I went up to the VA, and I was walking out there, I had a cup of coffee, and have a cigarette, because you could have smoke out there then. And this guy come out of this one room, and he says, say, can we talk to you a while? And I said, after I have my coffee and cigarette, we can talk. Well, I did, and I come in there, and he says, this questionnaire, would you fill out this questionnaire? Yeah, I don't know, it was, a couple hundred questions maybe, or whatever, you know, A, B, C, or D.
Yeah.
And so I did, and he said, well, why don't you go eat and come back? We'll do that. All right. So I went and ate, and I come back, and I walked in, there's 3 guys with white coats on. He says, we got to do something with you. He says, we don't know what you're going to do here. I said, what do you mean you don't know? He says, we got to do something with you. So they left me in the VA for 5 weeks. I got to go home on the weekends. But they had me there for PTSD.
Okay.
You know, and then I had to go see a psychiatrist in Mankato, and whatever to do these questionnaires and all this stuff here. And then he more or less said, he says, you know, you're not the first guy I've seen like this. Oh, really? Yeah, I said, you better go back up to VA. I'll send this up, better go up to VA. Well, that's what and then for PTSD, you know, and they give you these drugs and you know, they get you really messed up really bad. You don't even know, you know, you just, and I said, I can't do that. I said, you got something to nick this edge off, you know, that's fine. So we got the medication all figured out where everything works. You're pretty laid back, and so then I had to go have a hearing for disability from a federal, and me and the DAV rep was there, and my wife had to be along, or my wife. I guess before when I was going through that treatment, they wanted my wife to come up there with me. He says, you got to sign this piece of paper so I can talk to you, my wife. So my wife, whatever. And I suppose about an hour later she'd come out and kept going up to see a psychiatrist and whatever. I got my meds right. And then I had to go to the federal building, and this lady sitting there, and she asked me a couple questions. Okay, and she asked me, wife, a couple questions, and she comes back to me and says, where do you go on vacation? I says, I take a half a day off work and I come to the VA. She says, you got your 100% disability. You know? But anyway, everything's kind of cool with that. When I first went, the guy says, we got to do something with you. There was something, the way them questions were, there's something the way I answered them questions. He said, there's something that's in your subconscious that's back there. And he said, we're afraid it might come out, and we just don't know, so we want to get you help before something, and this is 20 some years ago.
Okay. Well, do you have any behavior patterns or things?
Well, I didn't think so. I don't know, I guess my temper was really short.
Yeah, that's one of them.
You know, it could be something minor that just rubbed me wrong. You know, I had my temper. You could fly like that. You know, and my wife said, "Yeah, you were talking to him." And he said his temper's really
okay.
Sometimes not, but sometimes it's because I don't know. You could, like, if I'm in a grocery store and I could hear somebody talking in like Vietnamese or Thai or Laotian. I mean, you don't know one from the other, but you know, bring the back that's better. Or certain smells, you know, you're right back to where you shouldn't be, you know, and it just, you know. But now everything's pretty kosher now. I mean, I still go see it. Like every 6 months. I'm down there every 6 months now. I just have to have a video. I don't have to go in for and make sure the Medicaid everything good. Yep, everything's fine. She said, okay, as long as everything. If not, he says, here's my phone number. But yeah, my wife said, boy, he says he used to fire off every once in a while. You know, I never hit my wife or I never threw nothing or broke nothing or
and you stayed
nothing
married.
like that. You know, I'd rather just, you know, whatever, and I knew it was there, and I'd just walk away. You know, I just want to be by myself. I didn't want nobody, you know, I just couldn't handle it, you know. But I'm pretty, you know, everything's pretty, you know, I mean, I still get a little, once in a while, get a little excited, but nothing I can't handle. Never been in jail for none of this.
Well, it's sort of interesting that they actually screened you and spotted it that way, because often the
Well,
problem
it was something to do with that questionnaire. There must be a way that I answered certain questions that was a...
But did you know why you were doing what were you at the VA for to begin with?
Well, let's see. I had shoulder on my surgery, or on my shirt. I did have it thrown out a joint over there, and I had surgery there. And I don't know what the deal was there, because I had 30% disability, and I can't, whatever, I don't know, I can't remember what for, but anyway, I was up there for something, and I don't know, the guy just walked up and he says, say, would you like to do this questionnaire? Out of nowhere. And one of them questions, there must have been something that's in them questions that they was looking for certain answers, and I must have answered them what they were looking for. So, there's just 3 guys in white coats. They said, we're going to do something with you. I'm like, what?
All right.
You know, whatever it was, they picked it up. You know.
And once they figured out the medication, yeah, because giving the wrong medication sometimes happens.
Yeah, right. You know.
Then that
Well, the
can-
first thing, I can't remember what it was, but your mouth is so dry you couldn't even spit. And I said, I can't take this. I said, man, it just dries me right out. And he says, no, we start that first. And a lot of times it works, and a lot of times it don't work. I said, well, I ain't taking it. I can't live without dry spit, you know, and just. So he's okay. So they got me on, but everything works pretty good now.
Okay. Now, aside from that, how do you think your time in the service affected you, or what did you learn from it?
Well, I don't know. I learned to discipline, and I guess I learned to get along with people. You know, I mean, I'm pretty easy to get along with. I don't get, I mean, if you're a bad person doing bad things, you belong in bad places. That's what they got jails for. To me, they should build bigger and more jails because a lot more people should be in there instead of putting them on probation. You know, no matter who you are, if you're bad, you shouldn't belong in society because you're going to keep doing bad things. You know, I don't need to be breathing my air. Breathe that stuff in the prison, but you know, it's just.
So you sort of learn discipline, learn how to deal with people. And
Whatever. Just walk away. You know, you don't have to agree. You don't have to argue with you. I can walk away from you. You know? But sometimes, you know, we don't we talk. You know, we don't go to blows or nothing. I mean, I got my opinion, you got yours, and I can live with your opinion. If you can't live with mine, I can live with you without you. I don't care. No.
All right. So basically, the whole thing makes a pretty good story. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet.
Taking time to share it today.